English translation with ChatGPT and small edits. Letter num. 36. To Hieroschemamonk Theodosius, most honorable and dearly beloved, Father Theodosius. Today I read your letter, written with love and praising your zeal. Indeed, one or perhaps even two of your letters were lost in the mail, so only from today's letter have I understood that you are troubled precisely about the calendar question. I shall respond to the question you posed directly. In the 13th, 14th, and 15th canons of the First, Second Council, which you know well, it speaks of separating oneself from a bishop or patriarch after his condemnation by a council and not withdrawing by one's own personal judgment. And that canon, number 15, which states that a clergyman who breaks communion with him, that is, the hierarch, for some heresy condemned by the holy councils or the fathers, naturally canonical fathers and councils, whose canons are included in the nomal canon. And moreover, when he, that is, the hierarch, preaches heresy publicly and teaches it openly in the church, such one is worthy not of condemnation, but of praise. But this, thank God, neither Patriarch Basil nor Chrysostomos, Papadopoulos, has done yet. On the contrary, they insist on preserving the former Paschalion, for it alone, not the Julian calendar itself, is safeguarded by the anathemas of the councils. It is true that Patriarch Jeremiah II, Tranos, in the 15th century and his successor, Cyril, in the 18th century, did pronounce an anathema on the calendar itself. But this anathema, 1. applies only to their contemporaries and 2. does not extend to those who are not afraid to break communion with it. Only those who mock the canonical Paschalion are subject to it. And here, this should be noted just in case, the main idea concerning the date of Pascha is that it should be celebrated by all Christians, that is, by all Orthodox, on one and the same day throughout the entire world. It is true that I myself and my brethren have no sympathy whatsoever for the new calendar or for modernism, but we ask the fathers of Athos not to rush into composing epistles. Cf. Romans 14. Do not grieve over our readiness to go to the Constantinopolitan Council. Of course, no council will actually take place, but even if it does, and even if we go just as Saint Flavian found himself at the robber council, we shall, of course, preserve the faith and anathematize the apostates. But until they have spoken their final word, until the entire church at an ecumenical council has repeated the anathemas of Patriarch Jeremiah, we must remain in communion lest we ourselves lose salvation and, straining out a gnat, swallow a camel. I ask, Holy Father, for your prayers. You know yourself that we are in sorrow. Your well-wisher, Metropolitan Anthony. Today I learned of the sudden death and burial place of my last brother, Alexander, September 7th. Pray for his soul. October 12th, 1926.
So Khrapovitsky says to an erudite Russian monk from Athos in 1926, these things. 1. Lies about the 15th canon, saying that only after a conciliar condemnation of the heretic, you are allowed to depart from him, not based on your judgment. 2. Ecumenist bishops like Patriarch Basil and Archbishop of Athens, Chrysostomus Papadopoulos, that changed the calendar in Greece, didn't yet preach a condemned heresy, another distortion and an obvious lie. 3. Lies about the anathemas against the Gregorian calendar from the 16th and 18th century issued by the Ecumenical Patriarchate. Khrapovitsky saying that only the Orthodox Paschalion is protected by the anathemas, but not the full calendar itself. Liar. 4. Those anathemas are not enforced nowadays. They were valid only then, in the 16th and 18th century for the then contemporaries. Liar. Dick. 5. The ROCOR bishops don't sympathize with modernism or new calendarism, but you Athonite monks don't rush writing apologetic letters. What a clown. 6. There won't be any ecumenical council in 1926 in Constantinople. But anyways, if it will take place, Khrapovitsky will condemn the apostates. 7. The anathemas against the new calendar from the 16th century are invalid unless a ecumenical council is proclaiming it for the entire church. Clown. 8. We must remain in communion with the ecumenist new calendarists, otherwise we lose our salvation, says Khrapovitsky. Liar and clown. That's the Russian Athonite Hieroschemamonk he was replying to. First photo, Hieroschemamonk Theodosius Karadanov, who was struggling in the harsh desert Karulia on Mount Athos. There is his little church. Second photo, his skull. Theodosius was one of the 400 zealot Athonite monks that ceased communion with the Ecumenical Patriarchate in 1924, after the calendar change, and founded the League of Zealots. Theodosius Karadanov wrote the book, Uchenie pravoslavnoi Serbii o sviashchenum predanii odnoshenie I k novomu stylu. I didn't find it yet in original Russian, and I don't think it was ever translated. English title, The Teaching of the Orthodox Church on Holy Tradition and its Attitude toward the New Calendar. And this heresiarch is venerated as saint by ROCOR Anthony Rudy.